Very good. So we will now hear from this concerned country. I give the floor to the distinguished delegate of Sri Lanka. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. For a moment, my hearing was malfunctioning, and I thought that I heard you tell the delegate of Germany to turn off its megaphone, but I think you said microphone. I'm sorry, I was a little confused. Mr. President, Sri Lanka is saddened by the comments that have been made by certain delegations because these do not reflect the accuracy of the process that has taken place over the last several weeks. We here know that this special session was canvassed for at least 4 weeks. It was canvassed on the basis that there was a humanitarian catastrophe of innocent civilians trapped in a crossfire. Now, that was the rationale for the search for 16 signatures, which took over 3.5 weeks. Now, that situation, the drive, by the way, Mr. President, was for a special session on the 14th of May. That situation has been transformed totally and radically. There are no more civilians trapped in a crossfire. All the civilians have escaped LTT custody. Therefore, there is no underlying basis for this special session, with a general session, a regular session, just a few days away next week. What then is behind this call for a special session? It doesn't require decoding, Mr. President, Excellencies. It is very clear from the proceedings that started yesterday. From high officials who should be above the fray, making statements which presumed guilt on the part of Sri Lanka and which could lend itself to misperceptions of bias of one sort or the other, to special rapporteurs who clearly exceeded the code of conduct, to a handful of countries which kept on mentioning war crimes over and over again, presuming guilt just 1 week after a 30 years war was over. Mr. President, these are the same people who told the world that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. So I wouldn't buy a used car from these people, let alone allegations of war crimes. We tried, but the people who are criticizing us today, Mr. President, didn't even bother to sit down and have a cup of coffee with the other countries in our region and ask them what they thought of the Sri Lanka situation and the call for a special session. So much for inclusivity, which is supposed to animate the behavior of us all in the Human Rights Council. Mr. President, L1 Rev 2 is not a blank check for the government of Sri Lanka. It embeds the totality of the agreement between the Secretary General and the government of Sri Lanka. It is not a blank check. It does not give a green light to Sri Lanka to do anything and everything it wants. But it is not a punitive text either. It is not a manifesto for a lynch mob. And this is its true value.